Hi class. So last time we had discussed about the technical writing, its principles, and its nature. And now we're going to focus with the properties of technical writing. So the content of this discussion would be the alphabet of technical writing or the ABCs of technical writing. So last time we emphasized on the importance as well of technical writing in your future career because one day if you are already a professional, you will be realizing that writing in a technical way is a must and at least you have the knowledge on doing that. And it's really hard to write. It takes a lot of time and hard work, and it's even more difficult to write it in a technical way. And so, before I start with the discussion, I want you to internalize all of the details that are shown here and focus on what is important. So, as letters comprise words, technical writing is composed of properties that serve as its building blocks. So, let's begin with the first letter according to the alphabet. So we start with letter A, which stands for accuracy. It says here that this can be attained by guarding against careless thinking, expressions, and calculations. It's very important for us to consider every details that we are writing accurate. When we say accurate, every information is complete. And we can do this by gathering information and details that are really needed in your writing. There's no room for inappropriate words or unnecessary details here. So all you need to do is to put the important and complete details. That's for accuracy. Next, we move to B, which stands for brevity. We have talked about this one last meeting. So it talks about the conciseness of expression, checking the development of your own ideas, and accuracy of expression. Last time we have discussed about this one. We say brevity, we are trying to make sentences shorter, but at least the information is there. You have to make sure that even though it's a short way to write the information, make sure that it is concise in a way that the information is complete. You write it in a brief and concise manner where the reader will be able to understand it. So you must avoid writing in long sentences because sometimes our readers just have enough or even little time to read the document or the file that you are giving them or providing them. So make sure that you are using concise words. And with that, you achieve brevity. Next one, we have C for confidence. Now, if you believe in what you are saying is right and wise, write it and have trust in yourself. So, what makes a person confident? It's like when you walk right past of the crowd, you have to walk with confidence. You feel yourself. You would always feel like you are the most handsome or the most beautiful person while you're walking, right? And same true when you are writing. You have to make sure that you are confident in what you are writing. Otherwise, you will be misleading your readers on what you are saying. When we say you are confident, you know that what you have written there is true to its or to your own ability, okay? And it's based on facts and also with evidences. It's not actually about writing a lot of words just to say that you are confident. Actually, the shorter you tell the person what you want to tell them, the better it would be because it's more concise. You are writing direct to the point, and at the same time, you are pointing what is important to your readers. So always have confidence and always trust yourself when you are writing. Next, we have dignity. So particular attention should be given to diction. Avoid using contractions like won't, shouldn't, can't, don't, and use a straightforward expression with summarized, simplified, and well-organized information. So as a person, you have your own dignity. And how do you maintain that? You are avoiding not actually mistakes, but you are just trying to avoid the common mistakes that most people do in their life. And same true with writing, you have to maintain the dignity of what you're saying or what you are trying to write to your readers. And one way to do that is technically avoiding using contractions like would, shouldn't, and can't, because these words actually are informal. When you are writing in a technical way, you have to be formal. And in avoiding these words, you can actually say this won't into will not or shouldn't to should not. You always have to complete the word so that it won't not sound like you are just writing to a friend, to a coworker. Okay, so if you are an employee and you are writing to your boss, so make sure that you are using the courteous words, okay, in addressing the person or your reader of your writing. And of course, you have to be straightforward in what you're saying because most of the time, our readers do not have enough time to read. So be on point. Next, we have E for emphasis. So make your report forceful. When we say emphasis, we put consideration or focus on what we are trying to say. So, or for instance, we are writing a report about an incident that happened in a specific place. So your focus is about the accident. You don't have to focus about the people who are there. You don't have to focus about the people that are not really into that accident. You focus on the things that would make your report reliable and can be based on factual or right information because if you will focus on different things as instead of just focusing on one thing in your writing, then you will actually lead the people into a wrong information or there will be actually a misinformation on their part. So if your focus is about the accident, focus on the accident itself, not on other areas. Okay, we also have facility. Report writing depends more on pacing, sequence, arrangement, and connections to achieve smooth flowing, easy to read continuity. So when we say pacing, we know how we write by making sure that we are not writing too fast. Okay, we are not taking the most important information too long. So we also have to consider the sequence. We must start with the way on how the readers would like to understand what really happened. So, unahin yung dapat unahin. And also the arrangement and connections to achieve smooth flowing reading. So, make sure that when you are writing, the sentence is connected to the preceding sentence and you will not be misleading your readers, because once you have written something and it's not really connected to what you are saying on the next paragraph, then you will not actually convince your reader that what you're writing is true and it's a factual basis. So you have to facilitate your own writing. Make sure that it's according to, or it's based on a proper format. You follow the sequence. Okay, you will not jump into conclusions right away. So you start with the very basic to the complex ones, or to the most important ones. So letter E for emphasis, make your report forceful. Oh, we're done with this. So facility. Next we have G for grammatical correctness. So I have already emphasized this one. Whenever you are writing, you must not underestimate the skill of writing. Because when you are in high school, in college, right, when you were asked before to write, you will actually feel like it's lazy to do, it's taking you more time to do that. But once you are working already, you are already professional, you are in your career already, you will realize how important it is to write. So in writing, you have to consider writing grammatically correct sentences. So how do you achieve this? How do you achieve that? To go back to our um, former discussion about this one, in properly making your sentence correct by observing your grammatical correctness. So just because something is written properly and it sounds good to your ears does not mean that you are actually achieving grammatically correct sentence. So it's really complex if you are not in the English field, but there are actually basic rules that you can follow to achieve correctness in grammars. As early as now, since you are still a student, you have to focus on making your writing better and error free, or it has no grammatical error. So next we have H for honesty. So as they say, honesty is the best policy. Proper documentation must be used, and a technical writer must acknowledge his sources. Of course, once you are writing a report, for an instance, and you have interviewed some people, you must give credits. Okay, you should not be saying that this information came from you. So if something or some statements are acquired from people or interviewees, then you give their names, give credit to your sources. And aside from that, how do you achieve honesty in writing? It must be free from plagiarism as well. So you do not um, acknowledge other sources as yours. You make your own. You have to be unique in what you are writing. So always observe, being honest. Next, we have illustrations. We have also talked about this one when we are differentiating creative writing from technical writing. So the use of illustrations are very important as well in technical writing, because some readers might not be actually into reading words. So to make things simpler and readable and understandable for our reader, we can actually use graphics or visuals or even images to explain our statements or information. Next. We also have J for judgment. So judicious weighing of evidence is important in a report. The best evidence is that which is most ample, most pertinent, most simple, and most in harmony with the rest of available evidence. When we say most ample, it's more than enough. So the required statements or informations are there. Okay, there is no missing data. Everything is provided according to what is needed. And of course, the most pertinent meaning the most important one. So you do not place unnecessary details, you do not inject your writing inappropriate words that are not actually connected to what you are saying. And you have to make it as simple as you can because sabi ko nga, your readers might not actually have all day to read your writing. So make it short and simple. And of course, when we say most in harmony with the rest of available evidences, dapat lahat ng evidences ninyo magkakatugma. Otherwise, you will mislead the readers in what you are trying to say. So make sure the evidences are connected with each other. Next, we have K for knowledge. Okay, the communication of knowledge is one of the chief functions of the report. It is more than a collection of data, for it involves interpretations and formulation of conclusions. Without intelligent interpretation, data will remain useless. All right, so when you are writing, it's not enough that you are knowledgeable about that area. You have to make sure that you have the comprehension and understanding the data given to you because that is your role actually as a technical writer. You have to make sure that you are able to understand the data that you have gathered. Otherwise, you're just stating the information without comprehension. So before you want your audience to understand what you are saying, make sure that you have understood also what you are saying. Okay, avoid jumping into conclusions. You have to sequence and keep your writing logical. And may I just add about you being the expert on this field? So aside from being knowledgeable, you must also be equipped with comprehension skills so that it would be easier for you to be faithful in what you are writing and you are also considering the state of your readers because not all readers are actually fast readers. Okay, some might take time to understand a writing, so it's your job to make things or to make the information simpler and more understandable. And you can actually do that by checking your writing first before letting them read it. So be comprehensible on what you are writing. Next, we have L for logic. So the process of showing the relations among groups of things and classes of group is logic. It is a process of classification, putting things in their proper places. So you might as well take in the subject logic, or if not, you are actually familiar with its meaning. So when we say logic, you are writing logically and concisely. When we say it's the process of showing the relationships among groups of things, you know how you will classify things according to its purpose. So if you are writing out of context, you are misleading or you are actually giving wrong details in your writing. So make sure that you are writing logically and You are correct in making things or putting things in the way that you are not making things more complex, but instead you make things as simple as you can. So parang logic lang, may common sense sa writing natin. Hindi mo dapat hinahaluan ng kung ano-ano na hindi naman dapat, okay? And you are good at making things in its proper places, okay? Alam mo yung ginagawa mo, hindi mo nakakalimutan yung mga details na dapat mong ilagay. So everything must be complete and according to um, its function. Okay. So we also have M for mechanical neatness. So it says here, a report should be neatly typed and well margined, so erasures that it will be easier to read. Headings, subheadings, and indentation are mechanical devices which help to make the organization of the content clear. The report must then be clean and free from typographical errors. So since we are writing in a technical way, one of the things that we have to take into consideration is the neatness of our writing. So one way to check if your work is neat is you check if it has no errors. So one of the things that you have to do is to check for its grammar. And there are a lot of platforms in the internet where you can use it to check your words or word choices. We have the Grammarly. Okay, that's the most famous one. You can actually use that for free, but there are actually limitations for that one. So aside from checking your grammar, you might as well want to check your margins. Margins are very important. Make sure that you use the normal and standard format in writing. Meron kasi yung iba, they are using the narrow ones, yung sobrang dikit na yung edge ng paper dun sa indentions. Okay, so aside from the margin, yung indentions then, make sure that you observe that one. The headings, the subheadings, make sure that they are properly placed in your paper. And then check as well for the spacing of your paragraph. So kapag required na isulat siya in 2 inches, just like in other formats used in researches, then you use that one. Pero meron naman yung iba, the standard format for them is 1.5 or 1 inch. Pwede na rin siya, pasok na din siya. Okay, so those are the things that you can do to observe neatness in your work. Next, we have N for normal procedure. So conformity to standard practices makes report easier to understand. When we say conformity, we are sticking with the rules that are given. So if you are writing a resignation letter, make sure that you follow the format. Okay, this is not actually to convince you to write a resignation letter once you get into the job that you once dreamed of, but actually to make you aware of the format and how you're going to write in the future. So you have to stick with the format. You do not make your own, 'di ba? So if our employers are used to seeing a specific format and then you gave them a format that is actually new to their eyes, malilito sila and magtataka sila. Magsusulat ka na nga lang ng resignation letter, hindi mo pa alam yung format. So you must be equipped with the knowledge and information about writing technical documents. Aside from resignation letter, we also have reports, okay, journals, brochures, lab reports for those in the medical field, um, reports about accidents as well, researches, and the like. We also have objectivity. So O stands for objectivity, which can be achieved if you avoid the use of first person in order to give the impression that the work being reported is a team effort or a company activity. So if you observe in your research, we are not using the pronoun I, but instead we make use of the word we or the researchers. The researchers are actually the correct ones to use. So when we say objectivity, okay, we are avoiding pronouns such as I, or kunyari if it really requires you as the creator of or author of the writing to write I as the creator of your writing, then you stick with it. Meron kasing iba, they start off with their writing using the I. So I have written this report, blah, 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 blah. Tapos mamaya on the next paragraph, they are already using another pronoun such as you, we, ganun. So there is actually inconsistency with the point of view of your writing. So if you made use of I as the pronoun, so stick with it. So kung gumamit ka ng we, stick with it. Okay? Hindi dapat yan paiba-iba. Kasi malilito yung magbabasa niyan. Sino ba talagang nagsulat nito? Sino ba talagang nagsabi nito? Okay? You have to be objective. Next, we have P for planning. So you need to have a clear idea of where you're going to end before you begin writing. So when we are in college, one of our professors told us that you have to begin with the end of your mind. So meaning before we are going to do something, we have to envisage or we have to imagine what will be the outcome of our work. So for instance, your goal is to write a business letter. So you have to make sure that your writing is free from error, free from grammatical mistakes, free from wrong formats. So make sure that when you do that, you are actually observing that when you are writing. So it's like a fuel to what you are doing right now. So you are studying because you want to be successful in the future. And same true with writing. When you are writing, you are not just writing because it's um, asked from you. It is given to you as a request, okay? But rather you are writing because you serve for a particular purpose. So if your purpose is to make a proposal about a project, then make sure that your writing contains all the details needed by your employer. Next, we have the qualification. So qualify what you write by describing what factors are constant and what factors are viable as you work. So in qualifying your work or in making your writing successful, you have to undergo a lot of processes because it's not actually easy to write in a technical way. You consider a lot of things, a lot of rules, a lot of formats. And actually, maraming nalilito dyan. So, as early as now, you read information on how to do a specific thing. So, in order to qualify your writing, dapat mag-stick ka lang sa kung ano yung ginagamit ng marami. Otherwise, mag-iiba yung tingin ng employer sa inyo. So, pwede nilang isipin na, bakit hindi niya alam, di ba? Dapat siya yung expert dito. So, it's very important for us to be equipped with the skills needed to qualify our writing. Because if not, then babalikan pa natin yung mga tinuro sa atin noon. Mahihirapan tayo. So, kailangan natin i-make sure that we are writing in a sensible way. We are considering our audience and what we are writing are actually qualified. not actually by the readers, but we, the author or the creator of this writing. So another one, we have the revisions. It's not actually enough for us to plan, to design, or to make a draft of our writing. The most or the final step for us to make in writing is the revision. Ito yung pinaka-importante sa lahat. Kasi if we do not revise our writing, it might contain errors. Hindi mo lang namamalayan. For example, yung mga essay na ginawa ninyo dati, 'di ba? Nagulat ka na lang nung chineck ng teacher mo, ay may error pala. You are not aware. So, once you have created your draft or once you make your writing or paper or work final, make sure that you revise it. You check for its words, whether they are spelled correctly. Okay, you also check for the grammar, if there are errors, mga ganyan. So, kung may kailangan palitan, palitan. Kung may kailangan baguhin, baguhin. That's how you do revision. You have to make your writing better than the draft. Okay? Kung meron ka ng draft, hindi yan yung magiging final step. Hindi yan yung isasubmit mo. Kaya nga siya tinawag na draft kasi it's just a scratch. There are still room for improvement on that writing. So you have to revise and revise until you achieve a successful work. So next we have S for straight sentences. So in a good report, each paragraph begins with a straightforward statement of its subject. So tinuro ko na din to sa inyo. It's somewhat connected with grammar. Since you are writing technically, it's important to write sentences accordingly and correctly. So if you are on your first paragraph, say for instance, if your first sentence or your topic sentence talks about an a topic, okay, a specific topic, for example, about the environment, then make sure that the following sentences are connected with your topic sentence para mag-stick lang kayo or mag-focus lang kayo sa isang area. So make sure that the first sentence and the second sentence is connected to one another. Hindi siya yung parang nagja-jump kayo into another topic. Dapat tapusin niyo muna yung unang topic bago kayo mag-move forward to another topic. Next, we have T for thoroughness. You can be thorough by preparing a checklist or requirements in the planning phase, marking off each requirement as it is fulfilled, and using the checklist again in the revision phase for a final check. So, unahin natin yung first, preparing a checklist or requirements in the planning phase. So, every time you're doing something, you are actually making checklist. Why is checklist important? Because it's where you can find whether or to check whether what you did is already done. Okay, if there are things that needs to be uh, done again, ganyan. So you have to check. You have to prepare for a list that you need to accomplish in planning. So after that, you may proceed to marking off each requirement as it is fulfilled. So kapag natapos mo na yung kailangan mong tapusin, i-mark mo siya na tapos na para hindi ka nalilito na, ay, alin na dito yung hindi ko pa natapos, malilito ka. So you have to mark the things that are already done. And lastly, you have to use the checklist again in the revision phase for a final check. So kapag natapos mo na lahat ng nasa checklist mo and you are in the revision phase, okay, you check again. Magkaroon ka ng or you refer to your checklist kung natapos mo na. Okay, tapos na, edi you may proceed to another goal. So, it's important to have a checklist para alam mo yung dapat mong gawin or the target goals that you need to accomplish in writing. So next we have U for unity. So a unified report is one in which everything is clearly relevant to main point on your discussion. So it's same with being united with your teammates when you are playing a game. When we say unity, kahit na madami kayo, you are still united, you are working as one. And same true when you are writing in a technical way. You have to make sure that you are writing using united words. So your report must be unified in a way that you are conformed in the rules that you have to follow. Okay, like you have to focus on the area that are being asked, not jumping into conclusions, and sticking with the rules and formats that are given to you. And most especially, you have to make sure that your information is relevant and related to the topic given. Next, we have the viewpoint. So, the point of view, for example, as a reporter, researcher, or employee, should maintain consistently throughout the report. For example, let's use again the example in writing a resignation letter. So, if you are an employee and you are writing to your boss or your employer, you must not write in a way that you are just writing na parang katrabaho mo lang yung sinusulatan mo. So, you have to be formal. If you are an employee, act as an employee. You must be avoiding words that are actually casual to whom you are writing your work for. So, if you are writing a resignation letter to your boss, make sure that you maintain the viewpoint as an employee. Okay, hindi ka dapat nagmamagaling, nagre-resign ka naman, nagmamagaling ka pa. So, you do not um, emphasize on what the employer had done wrong to you. You have to state the information or the details on why you are writing a resignation letter. Hindi mo dapat sinisiraan yung company na pinagtrabahuan mo, hindi ka dapat personal. You have to be observing yourself as a professional in the field you are working for. Okay, next we have W for word choice. So avoid pompous, vague, and ornate words. Be precise as you can. When we say vague, you avoid inappropriate words. Hindi siya nakakalito and hindi siya mahirap intindihin. You have to write in layman's term. When we say layman's term, yung madaling intindihin ng mga tao. Okay? Yung hindi na sila kailangan mag-dictionary para lang maintindihan yung sinasabi. So, depende rin sa audience kasi yan. So, if you are trying to write for people who belong to higher rank or higher position, make sure that you are using formal words. You are observing formality. And when you are writing to ordinary people, to public, make sure that you address them in a proper way and following courtesy. When we say courtesy, you observe respect for them. Okay, and you have to be precise in what you are writing. That is why I have emphasized on choosing right words correctly in your writing. Avoid words that might actually mislead your reader. So every time you are writing, you have to put yourself on their shoes. Kapag binasa mo ba yung sinulat mo, maiintindihan ba nila? Ganon dapat yung nasa isip ninyo. Okay? When you are writing, you are not treating yourself as the author of your work. You also have to treat yourself as the reader of your own work. Para kapag pinabasa mo na, binigay mo na, nabasa na nila yung sinulat mo, alam nila na you are being direct and precise with what you are saying. And dapat hindi rin repetitive yung sinasabi mo. ayusin mo yung pagkakasulat mo, hindi dapat siya paulit-ulit, hindi dapat siya paiba-iba ng tinatopic or binibigyan ng focus. So, kung ang focus mo lang ay isang area, mag-focus ka lang sa area na yun. Hindi mo dapat dinadamay yung ibang bagay na hindi naman related sa sinusulat mo. And we have X for extra. Ayan, nilagyan siya ng apostrophe for extra. So, effort brings success when you have or when you are being extra. So every time you're doing something, it's not enough that you have only enough. So, parang sa grade din yan. 'Di ba? Meron yung iba kontento na sila sa passing grade o 75, pwede na yan basta pumasa. But actually, in a professional field, in a working field, being extra will give you the edge in getting the work done. Kasi if you are being extra, marami kang magpo-provide pa na bago sa ibang tao. Okay, you give them information, you give them services that will be useful to them. Okay, if you put extra effort on what you are doing, you always expect success. Kasi if you are just thinking in your own box, nandun ka lang sa iisang part na hindi ko kayang gawin yan, hindi ko yata kaya, gano'n. So, kung mag stick ka lang sa gano'n, mahihirapan ka. So, dapat isipin mo palagi na marami kang ibubuga, na hindi ka lang isang ordinaryong writer, hindi ka lang isang ordinaryong employee. Okay, you have to uh, make people believe that you can do more and you can do better. Okay, so we're done. We're actually down to the last two. We have Y as it stands for you. So a report is written for an audience and you should think in terms of pacing and timing. Thus, your information can be presented in segments appropriate to your reader's knowledge and needs. So sabi ko nga, you have to be acting as yourself in writing. You do not act as others. And while doing that, you also have to consider your audience. Kasi not all readers or audience who will read your work are the same. Magkakaiba sila. So in order to um, consider the different difficulties and state of these readers, kailangan hati-hatiin mo yung information. You do not put all of the information in one paragraph. You have to put them in segments. When you say segments, hatiin mo sila. So kung magfo-focus ka muna dapat sa kung ano ang dapat mauna, yun yung ilagay mo sa first paragraph ng report mo, for example. And then dun sa second paragraph, you will inject examples, evidences that are needed to support your data. And lastly, we have zest. So write only when you have something worth saying and write as though you were performing a service that only you can perform. So ang sinasabi dito, when you are observing zest in your writing, you must only put information that are being asked from you. So, hindi ka dapat naglalagay ng personal details na sa'yo galing. Dapat factual yung basis mo. You must provide your data with proper citings, references, credits, okay? And make sure that what you are saying is actually what the readers would like to know. Otherwise, hindi na nila babasahin yung work mo or hindi na sila magkaka-interest doon sa sinusulat mo. And actually, they might ask a lot of questions if they are not sure of what you have written. So, ang dami, di ba? There are a lot of things that you have to consider in writing in a technical way. And these are the things that you might as well consider before writing. And I hope that you have all internalized all of this properties of technical writing, and that sooner or later you'll be able to apply them in the real world. When I say real world, it's your professional field or in your future career. All right, so thank you for listening. That's all for today, class.